Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Legal Score. I am live. I'm your host, Sonja. Hope everybody's doing well on this April 25th, 2026, our final Saturday of the month of April. Right after that, we'll be in the great May month and approaching the summer season. Hope everyone is doing great. Shout out to Brian B.A. Strilla. I'm the producer behind this great show and McGrath Streaming Network, and also the Pink Fan Fur. And shout out to you, all the YouTubers that are coming on watching and those platforms that allow me to share my live stream. I'm so greatly appreciative to you. Now, last night, I did not do a live show. So, for those of you who were on that caught the replay, we just had a lot going on, y'all. You know, we did a draft show on Thursday with the 1A Cheek, Three Toes platform. Shout out to those gentlemen for having me on. Nate, B, J, C Money. Always a great time with those Lions fans. And we did like an extensive show on the first round of the draft. So we were tired. Let's be clear, okay? You know, life be life on everybody. So make sure you guys follow us on this platform. We have stuff all the way around. And so last night we didn't get a chance to cover rounds 2/3, but I'm gonna run through them really quick today, and then I'll get over to the part you guys are here for, which is the legal score. But because we didn't do a show last night, there's a lot to talk about today. So let me get myself here on point. And of course, this show is dedicated to John McGrath, our great producer in the sky, who was with Northeast Streaming Sports and who started this entire platform. And so we continue this platform, McGrath Streaming Network, in his honor, McGrath Podcast Network, all that good stuff. And we have a lot of good shows on. So make sure you are here. If you don't get a chance to see the red button in the left that says live, make sure you check us out whenever you can. We have replays on all the platforms. So I'm extremely grateful to be here. Lots of sports news to cover today. So I'm going to try to squeeze in some legal news towards the end. But let's go ahead and get round 2 covered. First of all, you guys heard my opinion about how I felt about the draft on Thursday. And when you guys come on, please make sure you say hello. I'll drop your comments up here at the top so that I can welcome you into the platform. But yesterday, some notable picks, of course, the action for the 2026 NFL Draft completed their second day of action on yesterday with rounds 2 and 3. And today are the final rounds, guys. This is rounds 4 and 5. And there's some key highlights and specific picks that I do want to talk to you all about from the day 2 sessions. Number 33 for the Buffalo Bills. And you know, the first day of action, we did not see the Bills. They kept trading back until they traded themselves completely out of round 1. So they signed Dejon Stribling, the wide receiver, at the number 33 pick. Congratulations to them. Then the Giants followed up. Number 37, they signed Colton Hood as cornerback from the Giants at the number 37 pick. The 38 pick with the Arizona Cardinals picked Tredon Stukes, the defensive back. Congratulations to him. Denzel Boston went to the Seahawks at number 39. Pick number 41 was the Miami Dolphins, and they picked up Cassius Howell. I always love the name Cassius. I know that's a shout out and homage to Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay. But number 41, that's where he went for the Fins. And then the New Orleans Saints were back at it at pick number 42. They picked up Kristen Miller, the defensive tackle. And the Raiders were out there at 43. They got Jacob Rodriguez as linebacker at number 43. And my boys, my Panthers, they got Avion Terrell at number 48 with the cornerback position. That is another weapon for Bryce. Y'all know I always say that. They are focused on keeping Bryce upright this season and protecting him and allowing him some dropbacks in the pocket and out of the pocket and everywhere he needs to be. And then at the pick 54 for the Philadelphia Eagles, they picked Eli Stowers, the tight end, at the number 54 position. Now, round 3 notable picks, they had Arizona picked up Keaton Crawford, the edge out of Auburn, at the number 67 position. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars made that final selection for yesterday's evening. We'll get to that in just a moment. Number 70, the Bills again Romello Height, the edge out of Texas Tech. We heard a lot about him during the college football season. Number 70 is where he went with the Bills. The Saints back at it with Oscar Delp, the tight end out of Georgia, going to the New Orleans Saints at pick 73. Pick 76, the Eagles grabbed right up Drew Aller, the quarterback out of Penn State. I'll talk to you guys about that in a moment because that is crucial positioning. At number 79, my Panthers were back at it again. They grabbed Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver out of Georgia. So another Georgia player that have gone to the Carolina Panthers. And at the final pick for round 3 went to the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 100. Jalen Husky, the safety out of Maryland, was the final pick of day 2. Now, the New Orleans Saints doubled down on Bulldogs this draft, guys. They've taken Christian Miller and Oscar Delp with their day 2 picks. So those two guys know each other. That's going to be solid for the New Orleans Saints going into this new season, having the familiarity of both those guys playing with the Dogs organization at UGA. Now, analysts are pointing to Colton Hood from the New York Giants and Eli Stores of the Eagles as they are the value picks of the night. You know, they grade all the draft picks. And both players are actually sliding further than what their production scores has suggested. So we see these players that come in, things come out right before the draft, be it injury, be it behavior issues, whatso have you. And it literally does weigh in on their draft stocks. The Carolina Panthers actually addressed both sides of the ball on day 2, snagging Clemson cornerback Avian Terrell to bolster the secondary and adding explosive playmaker Zachariah Branch to the receiving corps. And everybody across Instagram last night was going wild about both of those selections, even non-Panther fans. Day 3 is currently underway, starting with the Buffalo Bills on the clock for the first pick of round 4 with pick number 101. Now, today is the final day of the draft for this year in Pittsburgh. And this coverage started at 12 o'clock. It is currently 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And this day is always known for speed and volume because they pick. And as teams move through the final 150 plus candidates to find depth and special teams contributors, it goes by extremely fast. Of course, today's schedule started at noon. We'll wrap up around 7 p.m. So you guys can feel free to listen to me and the draft, or just me, and then get back to the draft. And rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7, because you guys know we always go. There's 7 rounds, but no one really talks about them much. Picks 101 through 257. Of course, this is airing on ESPN, NFL Network, ABC, and NFL Plus. Teams have 5 minutes per pick in rounds 4 through 6, and only 4 minutes in round 7. Now, the Buffalo Bills officially opened today's day with the first pick of round 4 because day 3 moves so quickly, and the board is shifting minute by minute. Now, heading in today, several notable prospects were still on the board who were expected by some scouts to go higher. And this is what I'm talking about, draft stocks, guys. Left tackle Overton, the edge out of Alabama. Left tackle, LT Overton. Sorry, guys. The edge out of Alabama. He was a high upside disruptor who many thought would have been a day 2 lock. He was still on the boards today. Caleb Elarms, or the linebacker out of TCU, versatile linebacker that was still on the board. Strong special teams potential. And some of these guys may have gone since I've started talking, or within the last few minutes or so. Before I got on and got these names, I did not have an update about them being drafted. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo, was picked by the Browns at number 58 on Friday, but a lot of mock drafts had him going way higher. So after snagging Avian Terrell, the Carolina Panthers gets the cornerback and, of course, Branch yesterday. Carolina is going to enter day 3 today, looking for a more offensive line depth and perhaps another rotational pass rusher. As the draft wraps up this evening, keep an eye out for that Mr. Irrelevant ceremony for that pick number 257, the final selection of the 2026 class. All right, let's talk a little bit about some NFL stuff right now. There is some possible discipline to the Philadelphia Eagles. Perhaps that they were already on the phone with their scout before they were on the clock. There was some evidence put out there where he was I don't know if he was live streaming or what have you, but that's going to be looked into because players are not supposed to be contacted prior to being basically called at the last minute to be selected for the team. So we'll get a chance to look at that here later on. All right, let's look over to some NBA playoffs news. We're in the thick of the first round here, guys, and we've seen several game 3 pivotal shifts and a few teams moving dangerously close to elimination. The Pistons versus the Magic, number 1 and number 8 seeds. Right now, it is a 1-2 record. The Magic did win game 3, 113-105 today. And they take that lead as of today, basically, with that. So they are dangerously close, more than what people would have thought, considering they're against the Detroit Pistons. The Boston Celtics versus the 76ers, the number 2 and number 7 seeds, 2-1 record right now. The Celtics actually won Friday's game, and it was a thriller, 108-100, behind 25 points apiece from Tatum and Brown. Congratulations to those guys. And then the New York Knicks and Hawks game, number 3 and number 6 seed. It is a 1-2 series as well. The Hawks actually took game 3 and 109-108, nail biter. Game 4 tips off tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So right after this podcast wraps up, get ready to grab your snacks and settle down for that game that will be tipping off right after that. The Cavaliers and the Raptors, number 4 and 5 seeds. It's a 2-1 record right now in the series. Toronto actually dominated game 3 and 126-104 to get that done. Now in the Western Conference, because that's just your Eastern Conference, the Thunder and the Suns, the number 1 versus the number 8 seeds, 2-0. It's in progress right now, guys. OKC is leading game 3 in Phoenix. If they get up this game and one more, it's a sweep and it's a done data for them. It's the best out of 7, as you guys know. 4 up will definitely win the game. The Spurs, number 2 versus the number 7 Blazers. It's a 2-1 series in San Antonio. Reclaim control Friday in their game, 120-108 with that win on the road. The number 3 Denver Nuggets versus the T-Wolves. It's a 1-2 series. Minnesota actually holds the momentum. Game 4 is tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then in another possible sweep, believe it or not, guys, do not count out LeBron James. You may not be a Laker fan. I'm not. LeBron has been looking outstanding. Yeah, in his 3-0 is the series, guys. Despite the issues with everybody on the team, being hurt, being what have you, LeBron is continuing to get it done while his son Bronny sits on the side and watches his dad put up dub. 3-0, number 4, Lakers versus number 5, Rockets. Lakers in overtime. And it was a thriller, guys. They were down like 5 points with 45 seconds left on the clock. And just the defense and the offensive skills of LeBron James was what got them back to being tied. And then that defensive spill by him that permitted and prevented Houston from sinking it in, caused them to go overtime. And what you can't do is put King James in a push or win position. And he proved what exactly he could do. They got it done 112-108 in overtime. Houston is on the brink of being eliminated, guys. This is the first 3-0 series we have. The Rockets will be possibly swept if they don't get themselves together by this next game. All right, now today's schedule, of course, the Pistons are at the Magic today, and the Thunder are at the Suns. It's currently in progress right now. Knicks and Hawks are at 6 o'clock. It will be aired on NBC. A crucial game for New York to avoid a 3-1 hole. And the Nuggets and T-Wolves, game 4, is at 8:30. Now, this is big. The return of Jason Tatum, his big performance in game 3, 25 points, 5 out of 9 from the deep, is the talk of the league today, guys. It was only his 19th game back following a major Achilles surgery last year. So he is showing that he still has it. And I am a JT fan, and I just love how he is on the court. Kudos to him. And And then, like I said, the Rockets are facing a potential sweep after losing that. This is an overtime heartbreak for them because they were at home and they just knew they had it, and they've struggled to close games late without injured KD. So that's really big. Statistical leaders throughout this series: Jaylen Brown from Boston, 87 total points in 3 games. Kudos to him. Rebounds were led by Nikola Jokic for Denver, 43 total rebounds during the playoffs games. This is crazy. And assists, LeBron James, no doubt there with the Lakers, 26 total assists throughout this playoff sprint. Now, the Lakers are actually the only team with a chance to break out the broom and complete the sweep in their next outing. All right, let's talk about some Major League Baseball. This is roughly a month in. Standings are starting to take shape with the San Diego Padres and the New York Yankees leading their leagues. Are y'all guys surprised? Like Aaron Judge, are y'all really surprised? The Yankees are on fire. New York is currently riding a 7-game winning streak. They entered today's matchup against the Astros that kicked off. Well, you don't kick off, that pitched off, I guess, 7 minutes ago, 4:10, as the hottest team in the AL right now, though they are closely monitoring the Giancarlo Stanton situation, who is awaiting injury news. Skenes Dominance, Pirates phenom, Paul Skenes is improved to 4-1 on the season after tossing a 6-inning masterpiece, 6 negative masterpiece, to shut out the Brewers today. Kudos to him. And there is a West shakeup in the AL, guys. It is already brewing a surprising turn. The Oakland Athletics currently sit atop the AL West at 14-12, recently moving ahead of, you got it, the Rangers and a struggling Astros squad. Can y'all believe the Astros are struggling? Not the Houston Astros. Yes, they really are. Rookies to watch out for in all of this: Jack Leader, the Rangers, and Jose Soriano from the Angels are emerging as early season breakout stars, both posting elite strikeout rates through their first several starts. Now, today's scores and results: the Orioles versus the Red Sox, Baltimore 10, Boston 3. This actually makes the Red Sox have now lost 4 straight games. The Guardians versus the Blue Jays, Cleveland 8, Toronto 6. Gavin Williams, 4-1, earns the win. Paul Skenes, I told you guys about him a minute ago. This is 8 in a win. Pittsburgh 6, Milwaukee 0. The Colorado Rockies versus the Mets 4. Mets only got 3. Colorado wins it. Mets continue to struggle without Juan Soto. He's on IL, of course. You guys know that. Luis Severino secures the win for Oakland with a win 8-1 over the Texans. And then the Dodgers, guys, Chicago beat them 6-4. Chicago Cubs, that is. Ryan Rollison gets the win over the world champs. So there you go. And here are the leaders for that. The AL East is led by the New York Yankees at 17-9, looking very impressive. The AL Central, Cleveland Guardians 15-12. AL West, Athletics 14-12. And the NL East, the Atlanta Braves. Can we say it for Atlanta? Yes. Atlanta Braves are on the top right now. The MLB best run differential. I had a sip on that one. And then the NL Central, Milwaukee Brewers are 14-11. And the NL West, San Diego Padres 17-8. Now, key transactions and injuries: the Orioles did activate their left-hand pitcher Keegan Aiken from the 15-day injury reserve right now. IL today. He's expected to be their primary southpaw out of the bullpen. The Blue Jays did place right fielder Nathan Lukes on a 10-day IL for hamstring and transferred right-hand pitcher Yimi Garcia to the 60-day IL following elbow surgery. That is a frequent injury in MLB. And the Mets are still playing without their superstar, like I said earlier, Juan Soto, who remains sidelined with a calf injury. Up next, the Braves and Phillies are wrapping up their series tonight in Atlanta, a rematch of last year's intense postseason clash. It's a beautiful day here in Atlanta. It's mild, it's overcast, so that will keep the heat at bay. Now, I want to make sure I didn't miss any sports news before I flip over to y'all's favorite segment, which is none other than my legal part. I do want to ask y'all about this though. Every year people talk about swag and attitude and things like that. And there was, some touching moments during the draft where some players actually came off, smug, this, that, and the third. And it's just like, is this really true? Or is this how they are? Or are they just excited? It's just weird. It's a weird dynamic because you want to be happy for them. You don't want to make it feel like, okay, they're not trying to be cocky or anything like that. They're just being confident. But the Eagles may have gotten themselves full with their nice Californian trade here. But there you have it. And speaking of, as of 2 minutes ago, let me go ahead and update you guys with round 5 draft results real quick before we pull over. Number 141, Kamari Ramsey has gone to the Houston Texans. Number 142, Fernando Carmona is up for number 142. And let's see, who would they say he's going to? He's going to the Tennessee Titans. The Arizona Cardinals have drafted Reggie Virgil at number 143. My Carolina Panthers have just drafted Sam Heck at the number 144 position. Nick Barrett is at 145. Parker Braceford at 146 for the Browns. Excuse me, Nick Barrett went to the Chargers. The Commanders, you haven't heard a lot about them. They've taken Joshua Josephs at 147. At 148 is Bo Stevens for the Seattle Seahawks. And then Justin Jefferson, that's going to be definitely odd, has gone to the Browns at the 149 position. Dalton Johnson at 150 went to the Raiders. And I've got to also grab in the Carolina Panthers have also taken on at the 151 position, Zakee Wheatley. All right, there's a lot more. You guys can make sure that you stay up to date on that going into the entire evening. There'll be draft picks galore. And that will be that. And then that was for round 5. Round 4 was wrapped up a little while ago. I do want to announce for Panthers fan, Will Lee the third went at number 129 in round 3 for my Panthers. So kudos to them. And you guys can check all of that stuff out. All right, let's hop over to some legal news, y'all. There's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of trials. And so I just feel like we are at such a pivotal time in this country for just no one using any type of sensitivity or anything for things that are going on in this country. And I feel like this is definitely the time that we need to be more cognizant of what's going on, more aware, and just be better keepers of ourselves and those that are around us. So for the sake of me getting into the crux of this discussion, I'm going to go ahead and run my commercial now so that when I come back, I can have the full remainder. Second half of the hour be coming right up in the next 45 seconds. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for joining me on my network today. You guys are quiet. Everybody's coming on. No one's saying anything. I guess it's just that time of day. So it's been one of these long sports weeks. We're gonna try to talk about a little bit of legal stuff right now going on. Um, let's talk about immigration, y'all. This is the thing. So our country is going through a lot right now, and immigration is at the top of that list of priorities, interests, according not just to our country, but to some of our friends. And it's a very important issue that a lot of constituents and candidates they actually use as some of their campaigning information. Well, yesterday, guys, well, actually a couple of days ago, a federal court actually the Court of Appeals issued a massive blow to the administration, and I mean the White House. Day one immigration policies. Y'all know when Trump came into office, he signed a lot of stuff that he was like, basically, I'm undoing this, I'm undoing this. It was like, dude had so many books waiting to be signed. I know he wasn't reviewing everything, they had them ready. Administration on this particular issue had issued a proclamation aiming to shut down asylum at the border, citing an invasion as legal justification under Section 212 of the Constitution. Now, today's status, the DC Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the proclamation was unlawful, stating that the president cannot unilaterally wipe away asylum laws passed by Congress. This effectively halts the summary deportation of asylum seekers who cross into the United States without authorization, returning the process to the statutory framework that was already established by Congress. Now, this case comes into play with the DC Circuit's asylum ruling, RAICES v. NOEM, NOEM, if you guys want to take a look at this case. This is going to be major, y'all, because there's a lot of people coming to this country every single year seeking asylum from their countries, which is their protections. They're being persecuted. They're being, just tortured in their own countries. They run to the United States for protection. And so Trump said on day one, nope, we're not here to save people. So basically negating what the Statute of Liberty stands for. We're not here to intervene in any issues that people have with their respective countries. And Congress says, nope, yes, we are. And this has been in place for a while, and you will not come in for day one and start negating this. Now, my question is this, though. How long has he been in office? How long did it take you guys to get this on a calendar in a court to get it heard? And how many people have already been impacted by this law that he supposedly imposed? Or should I say the removal of the law, because it was already there by Congress. How many people have been impacted by his removal of that asylum? And the second part of the question is, well, can those people that were removed now return? As you guys always know, I like to say the verdict is still out. Another interesting thing is there's a testify in your own defense post-mortem. Now, this is really weird, guys. A major theme in today's legal world is the failure of the risky defendant strategy. Analysts are comparing 3 high-profile cases where defendants recently took the stand in their own defense and lost. Now, let me just tell you guys. Oh, I forgot to tell you, in case you didn't read the disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, and nothing that I say is constituted as giving legal advice. Okay. But this is the thing. Everybody has the right to be their own attorney. You don't have to hire one. If you can properly represent yourself, so be it. God bless you. But there is a proverb that says the person that has himself as their lawyer has a client as a fool, which means it's not good to represent yourself. There you have it. But in this particular case in Virginia, Brandon Banfield, convicted of a double murder plot involving the family's au pair, their caretaker, their babysitter, cleaner, whatever they do, the au pair. Despite taking the stand to deny that he did it, to deny the scheme, the jury found him guilty this week. In another case here in Georgia, Colin Gray, the father of the teen shooter at Appalachia High School, testified he had no warning of his son's plans, but was recently found guilty of murder and manslaughter. Why? Because he purchased and provided this weapon to his son, who was a minor, and his son went to the school and shot these people. Now, I'm going to be honest, y'all. Oh, my goodness. I have a little bit of problem with that because I know how I was as a teenager. I know how I was as a kid. And half the stuff I did or said, my grandparents didn't know. My dad didn't know because I did my own thing. And I tend in my normal mind, and I wonder how many of the jurors actually thought this originally. In my normal mind, I'm like, how do you really know what your child is doing? It's so easy for people to come out and say, well, you should know what your kid has in their room. And you should. But how many parents with the responsibilities of their jobs and things like that really know what's going on with their kids? Like, how many parents really go in their kids' room and go through their drawers, look under their beds, look in their closets for anything that's out of order? How many of the parents actually know their kids' friends? How many know any of that? A lot of parents, especially in this day and era, are working a lot because the cost of living is high. And so the kids come home, they have a key, they have their device, the parents text them to check in, or they may have their locator on, but they don't know what's going on that's not seen. Nobody's setting up a FaceTime the entire time that the parents are outside of the home. So I have a little bit of a problem with that because I always feel that it depends on the mind of this child. If you have a mischievous child, that child is so busy covering up everything. There's no way you could possibly know every single thing that this child is doing. Unfortunately, the jury didn't think the way that I'm thinking, and they found Colin Gray responsible for murder and manslaughter. So the charge was as if he was out there himself doing it, not for just his son. Gerhard Koenig in Hawaii, a doctor convicted of attempted manslaughter after claiming his wife's fall during a hike was an accident. He got on the stand. Jurors didn't believe him. They were like, "Nope, dude, you did it. You tried to unalive your wife." And so it's just so recent that one judge, one jury, one jurisdiction may think one way, and I may think another way, you may think another way, and there's really no black and white in the law. It literally depends on the jurisdiction and that specific judge's interpretations of the law and the jurors' interpretation in these specific cases. So they're doing a study. Like, okay, you got these defendants that are like, nope, I'm taking the stand in my own defense. My lawyer has said enough. I want to make sure the jurors hear from me so they can see me. They can get a feel of my mannerisms. and they can know this is how I really feel about this offense. I know I'm innocent and I want it to be seen. Well, that's why sometimes they tell you it's better to just let your lawyer speak, because in these cases, it didn't work out at all. On a different note, not about jurors, the longest trial in Georgia history, the YSL RICO trial here in Atlanta and in Georgia, for the most part, the Young Thug trial, Young Stoner life, Young Slime life, all of that. Jeffrey Williams was released on probation, of course, in late 2025. The legal aftermath of the longest trial in Georgia history continues to make headlines today. And actually, he wrapped up his case, and goodness, has it been? Feels like it was 24 when that all wrapped up. But I guess it wasn't. It was 25. This time is just wild. But this week, a judge actually ordered the state of Georgia to return roughly $150,000 in cash, luxury cars, and high-end jewelry to him that they seized during the investigation. Let me tell y'all something. Brian Steele is a great one. Keith Adams is a great one. Those were his legal team. Because to get a conviction of some sort and to have your assets seized, generally, at least back in the day, you don't get your stuff back unless you're found innocent. Jeffrey took a plea, which was an admission of guilt, and he's on probation. And they gave him time served for the other time that he was in custody while awaiting the trial. But he's getting his stuff back. Now, legal teams for the remaining YSL co-defendants are still navigating the final murder charges of the indictment. So technically, even though they say it's the longest trial in Georgia history, because they actually disposed of Young Thug's part of the case back then, it's still going on. It was like he was sentenced, then there was a comma, but there was not a period. So it really is the longest standing trial in Georgia history. So Young Thug got his stuff back. Some of his co-defendants that were facing the murder charges of the indictment, because it was an 80-page indictment, a gang of charges. You guys got to take a look at it. I think it was 28 counts. Most of the other charges were largely dropped or resolved with plea deals, but effectively finally ending the murder aspect of the RICO trial. Now, I will tell you guys this. Fulton County, Georgia, which is where this case was heard, and it's here in Atlanta, their Superior Court has a very high-profile list of cases that are particularly relevant. Like, this is not the only case. It's the Metro Atlanta area, blah, blah, blah. The state of Georgia versus Donald John Trump, okay, for y'all who want to know what the J is for, continues to actually move through complex pretrial motions regarding immunity and prosecutorial misconduct. This stems not just from him with this election thing, but now it has gone over into the Secretary of State, into voters' rights and things like that, because you guys know he tried to come through and get some of the, oh, I got some comments. I'm so sorry, guys. Hi, Jeffrey. I am so sorry. I just saw your message. Hope you're doing well. Hi. Hi there. All right, Jeffrey. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on and saying hi. I've already talked about our Panthers in the draft. You can go back and watch the replay as soon as I'm off here in the next few minutes. But anyway, that case is still going on, y'all. And a lot of states have actually absolved their cases with Donald Trump because they're like, it's unconstitutional, or at least it's not efficient, judicially efficient for them to have cases against Donald Trump while he's in office. So they're like, we're just going to like let these be to the side. So when he comes out of office, then we'll just pick up where we left off. This guy is trying to run again. So he's trying to make sure he never faces any type of state issues outside of, he's not going to face them. Let's just put it like that. All right. Another high profile case is Portia Williams. You guys know her from the Real Housewives of Atlanta versus Simon Guobadia. That is her ex-husband. This is involving assets that they had together. This is a civil case right now in Fulton County. It's on their docket. And they're trying to, they said he had a whole lot of assets. She's clearly got her own assets because of who she is from being a reality star. And Portia comes from good family. Y'all know she's related to Jose Williams. Like she's comes from good stock. So she's gonna be about where she got. And then the Atlanta Public Safety Training Facility, Cop City. If you guys don't know what that's about, that is a big thing here in Atlanta. A lot of people have been like tree hugging and protesting because they do not want Cop City, which is a public safety training facility within the city limits, to be in the Atlanta area. Um, so it's going to be very important to know what's going on, from here to there. Let me make sure before I hop off here, guys, since we've wrapped up the legal segment, that I don't have anything going on with any other breaking sports news before I hop off of here. I will say this: Mike Vrabel is in therapy today, day 3, and yesterday for whatever he has going on. Meanwhile, Rossini stepped down as a reporter for the Athletica, and now there are rumors, more pictures coming out. They're even saying they don't know if the kid is Mike's or what. It's just a lot. Like her son, apparently somebody said they named her son is like 6 years old, and his name is Michael. Just a lot of stuff going on. So we'll see. Right now, the OKC game, 62 halftime, leading the Phoenix Suns. That game is going on 62-53. And that game is actually going on right now. The other games I told you all that would be out a little bit later on. Let me see real quick. That's the only score I have right now. The draft is still ongoing, and I think that's about all I have for you guys today. Another abbreviated show, just by a few minutes here. Um, just wanted to make sure I don't have anything I was supposed to talk to you guys about. Because like during the week, I'll see things and I'm like, I'm gonna talk to you guys about that. And then I'll get on here and it's already been addressed, this, that, or the third. And I'll be like, I don't know if I'm gonna really talk about it or not. So I think that really was all I had today. Definitely didn't want to talk about the players that were their draft stock and everything was splitting and slipping. So yeah, let's see. Make sure I got everything. There was a young man that actually was crying yesterday, and he had like a knee injury or what have you. He put out that he was going to be fine by June, but he has not come out yet. But matter of fact, Jermod McCoy, the cornerback out of Tennessee, is who I'm speaking about. He was supposed to have been, basically this top 20 talent in the draft. But he's currently, still slipping because of medical reasons. He had a torn ACL in January of last year, and reports came out this week. This is what I be telling y'all. Stuff comes out the week of the draft that could just make or break a person's draft stock. But it came out that he may require a follow-up, y'all. So he had just put a tweet out like a week or two ago, like, hey guys, I'm projected to be 100%. Well, he might not have said 100%, but he was just like, hey, everybody, I'm gonna be good to go by June. So he wanted everybody to know that he would be good for, late OTAs, because June is really late for OTAs. But he wanted to make sure that, they knew he was good. And everybody thought it would help his draft stock. But now that this news came out, that he's basically facing a possible follow-up, now his draft stock has slipped. He missed the entire final season of his collegiate life with that torn ACL. And he was once actually not just top 20, but round 1. And he fell completely out the first night. And teams are actually hesitant to invest early in him. Hesitant because they haven't seen any game action from him in over 15 months. Another person is Keldrick Falk. Despite a productive career in the SEC, he slipped past several pass rush needy teams in the late first and early second rounds because a late run on an offensive board with tackles and defensive tackles like Peter Woods and Caleb Banks, pushed a whole bunch of edge players, rushers, everybody down the board because those guys got in and everybody was like, I want them. And the analyst said that teams are focusing on pure speed. So Falk was more so seen as a traditional power end. Heading into today, he was Mel Kiper's best availables, however, represented the massive value, but clearly out of the top 20. Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State, polarizing prospect. He has a massive size, but several teams had reach concerns regarding his lateral agility and moderate wide zone scheme. So this comes from production at the combine, what they saw there. And so even though he was a top rated DT on many big boards, but once Caleb Banks was watched out of Florida and Peter Woods out of Clemson got ahead of him, he was just now the best player available for today. Some players did slip, and the ones that were really shocked, and this is what I'm so glad I went to this. I forgot to mention this to you guys. The fact that the Eagles are taking a quarterback, the Rams took a quarterback. The Panthers did re-sign a quarterback from prior, but they, I just am struggling when I see teams take quarterbacks. This is like, here's your warning, quarterback number one, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, whoever, Bryce Young, to get yourself together this season, or you could be moved around. Even though Bryce is not in that position, I'm just saying they did sign another quarterback. But people were like, Panthers were like, why take him? And we just got rid of Andy Dalton. That makes no sense. But anyway, while some players did slip, a few others saw their stock fall in the eyes of analysts because they were drafted by teams where they don't fit the immediate need. Like that specifically, Ty Simpson for the Rams. That's exactly who I'm starting out to talk about. Drafted at number freaking 13. Like, Rams, what were y'all doing? Even Sean McVay looked shocked at the presser when they were explaining to the press why they had taken a freaking quarterback in your first grab. And let's be clear, for the Rams to get to the number 13 draft pick, they moved up. The Rams were way down. So you moved up and switched out with somebody else for this quarterback? Why? Why? It makes no sense. Everybody's scratching their heads. Arizona Cardinals, Jeremiah Love, the running back, drafted at number 3. Despite his talent, analysts argue that a running back at a third pick is a value loss. Cardinals should have gone with someone else. But I would disagree with that. I think a running back for the Cardinals is exactly what they needed. Number 3 is really high, though. But maybe they were afraid that he wouldn't be on the board long. And then Jeremy Bernard, the wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, landed in a crowded room with Metcalf and Pittman Jr. The target's going to be slim. DK Metcalf's already complaining about targets. Then you got Pittman Jr. there, and now Steelers are adding Jeremy Bernard. So you have 3 WRs. Now, granted, Bernard probably won't see the field, if at all. He's probably there for just an alternate. But this is crazy. This is important to know what your needs are going in. And some of these GMs that are heavily involved in talent, recruitment, and basically all the drafts and shenanigans that go on with the teams, they should not be, because clearly they haven't prepared for what they should be getting. And we will know soon enough. So I'm about to wrap up here. But you guys drop in the comments in anytime you see this video who your draft winners were for round 1, round 2, round 3. And with that, I will bid you guys a farewell for now. Join us tomorrow morning for the Sunday Morning Big Sports Show. We'll be talking about draft selections and all the NBA playoff news and latest MLB news as well at 8 a.m. before you head to church. Join us on that platform. And with that, I bid you guys all a good day and a good end of April. And this entire month was dedicated to my uncle, Edward Walker. Happy heavenly birthday. Good night, all.